Luann had her arms crossed, a frown etched on her face, as she returned to the main lobby. At first the comedian had been nervous about her session, as each sister went before her came back with a troubled look, as they have bore witnesses to something very terrible. But now she understood why. Her sisters had hidden issues that they largely kept to themselves. Luann felt her stomach churn as the guilt that had reminded her of its presence. All those pranks she pulled on April Fool's Day, she couldn't bear to look at her family in the faces after realizing everything she did. The others grew concerned for her, seeing as she was optimistic just an hour ago. "You okay, sis?" Luna asked. "Not really. I'm just thinking things over. Also, Miss Lopez wants to see you." Luann casted a look to her roommate. Luna gave a small frown. "Alright then, let's see what the doc's got in store for this baggage case." As the 15-year-old got up from her seat and walked down the hall, Rita took the vacant seat next to her daughter, seeing as she looked more troubled than Lori, Lenny, and Lisa when they came out of their sessions. "Luann, I could tell why you've been hiding something troubling you. If I had to guess, doctor helped you realize something?" Luann nodded. "Was partially bad?" Lucy asked. "I need to ask you guys this, and I want you all to be honest with me. Do you think I go crazy on April Fool's Day?" The girls and their mother looked at each other in confusion. While they certainly knew that the 14-year-old joker did go a little nuts on her favorite holiday, she didn't seem to find it troubling. But then again, the girls in particular pretended she didn't exist for a few weeks before they knew about to get over the prank apocalypse, or at least let the side effects from the pranks were gone. "Are you sure you want to know the answer to that, Luann?" Lori asked, uncertainty. "I'm serious, Lori. I've been going overboard on that holiday. Just come out and say it. I just want you guys to know." "Well, I was pretty upset about being stuck in that jello," Lana stated. "It took me forever to get that chicken poop off my sporting goods," Lynn added. "I literally get pissed at you for shaving my eyebrows off," Lori admitted. "Your spider pranks are pretty mean. No offense," Lenny chimed in. "The whole vacuum bag dust bomb made me want to choke you in your sleep," Lola added, making the others give a shocked glance at her. "What?" she said. She wanted an honest opinion. Tears then welled up in Luann's eyes as she listened to her family's opinions on her pranks. "I knew it. I'm a monster." "Luann, I think I can safely assume that you are wrong. Consider yourself an aberrant occurrence," Lisa corrected. "Especially everything after I did. Girls, none of you are monsters. Sure, you may have your quirks, but that doesn't mean you're a threat to anyone." Luann gripped her arms tensely. That surely was a lie. "Then explain to me why you guys are always hiding from me on April Fool's Day. Don't act like I don't know every one of you plans to hide somewhere every time that holiday shows up. Lisa, you even built a bomb shelter specially for that day. I've been pulling meat pranks on my family for the last few years just for a cheap laugh. I didn't even care if you guys got hurt. So how can you tell me that I'm not a monster?" The family was stunned by her sudden outburst, but then a pained look on Luann's face said it all. Lori sat down on the opposite side of the distressed girl, then she started to cry in silence. "Luann, what did you talk about with the therapist?" Lori asked. "I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I should have come to you about this long before, but I couldn't. I was just too scared." Luann sniffled to prevent the snot from flowing out of her nose. "Sweetie, what were you supposed to talk to us about?" the monarch asked. I have a bullying problem." Those seconds that left Luann's lips, something struck a chord in Lynn. After a long time through self-hate and believing she was the bully to her brother, getting the bombshell that her older sister was being bullied put her in the defensive instincts at all times high. She might have failed Luann or Lincoln, but that was no way in hell she was going to let another of her siblings suffer from those assholes with their ego problems. "Who are they, Luann?" she said in a low voice. When the comedian didn't reply, the athlete grew angry. "I said, who are they? Just point them out, and and I swear I'll give him a piece of thrashing so bad it will pale in comparison to what Ronnie Ann did to me. I don't know, okay? It was back in elementary grade. You didn't even have to face to reference? Lynn asked. Luann shook her head, causing the 13-year-old to punch the wall in means of letting off steam. Lynn Jr., getting angry won't help, so calm down, Rita ordered. Lynn looked at her mother defiantly for a few seconds, before giving a small huff. Sinking into her chair, the mother then turned her attention back to the crying daughter. Luann, if you had a problem, then why didn't you say anything? Like I said, I was too afraid to talk about it. I'm guessing that it was literally, Lori wanted to swear, but with the little ones present, she changed her words. Pain in the back? More than that, to be honest. Luna then strolled into Ms. Lopez's office, who was expecting her. She didn't know what to think about her session before it started. Obviously, the question would be about the whole incident and the family he found himself in. The musician has some suspicions that it was more than accidentally putting her brother in the hospital and making him afraid of them. Luann was practically on the verge of tears when she came back. It doubt that she would go through Lincoln's condition. Everyone already accepted the hard truth that they wouldn't be able to undo what had happened, though Lisa had wished that she built a time machine to prevent this whole mess from starting. As tears of sadness was already shed, the crying about it wouldn't do any help at this point. Luna herself was well aware of that fact. She silently cried herself to sleep for the first few days after that fight, and the night it was discovered Lincoln developed his phobia. Hey, Doc, the 15-year-old greeted, taking a look around the room. Nice digs. Thank you. Luna, is it? The one and only, the musician said with a shred of confidence. Great. So, how are you feeling today? Well, to be honest, it ain't really my usual riff today. Not after since I've had a flow of our family broke like an axe occasionally. So, what's something the matter with Luann? She was still all happy to be coming in, but now she broke her favorite dummy when she came back. Luann was just reflecting on the session we had. While I can't give you the schematics of what happened, she's sure to be talking about with you all. Right. Luna sat in her chair. So, how's this all work out? We're just going to talk here. Anything we talk about can be kept private, if you wish. If not, you're free to use this information however you want. Sound good? That's cool, Luna shrugged off. So, tell me a bit about yourself. Luna gave a smirk. Well, not to brag. What puts me in the loud of our family, I make the place rockin' day and night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If my siblings and bro needed some music, I'm the one they turn to. And judging by your attire, I'd say you're interested in rock and roll. Heavy, mate. So, when did you start getting into the music industry? Now, that's a long story. Luna stared at the ceiling. Unlike most of my sisters, I didn't exactly have a special talent when I was little. You know, I guess if you use my brother as a divider, the middle child and my teenage sisters were the times I felt like I was the only one who couldn't carry a beat, as both my older sisters and 2 younger sisters had found something that they were good at. Lynn found that she liked sports and she was only 6. Lenny got into fashion around that age. Lori found that she was a decent speller. Could explain why she has that phone in her hand so much. Even Luann started taking up comedy in elementary school. And as for me, I didn't know what I was good at. The musician gave a sigh. None of the stuff my sisters did got me going, but it didn't bother me that much. Not until I was in the 7th grade. At least by then, I was getting worried I might not have any skill like my sisters. But over the past few years, I found that I've gotten into music, and the classics to be exact. But even then, it still didn't feel like the real me. All of that changed when I heard about the Rockin' Boulders doing a concert in town one day. The night I heard Mick Swagger sing and call me on stage, it was then that I knew that I was meant to be rocking with the world everywhere I go. That's why to this day, I always view Mick Swagger as my hero, because he showed me that I had the skills all along, but I just didn't realize it. Besides singing and playing with an axe, I still practice a lot using my other instruments. What kind of instruments do you know how to use? The 15-year-old started counting off her fingers. Drums, piano, flute, tuba, trumpet, violin, the harp. I tried the banjo once, and of course the guitar. That would explain why there are any instruments that you couldn't play. Well, maybe. I mean, when I usually get my hands on something I haven't touched yet, I can figure out within an hour or so. My sisters and bro do have some taste too. Like Lincoln is pretty sick on the cello, and Lucy made a wicked tune on the organ. Lori isn't half bad on the trumpet either, even if she's a little off-key. Interesting, Miranda noted, jotting down something. Each of the sisters are very gifted with their age. However, their conflicting personalities are quite obvious. She said in her mind before turning her attention back to the musician. Okay, so I understand that you have a passion for the arts, practically the rock genre. Has this times caused any conflict with your siblings? Luna felt a little bummed when she was asked that. One particular situation came to mind. There was this time our family had signed up for the talent show at the fair. Many ideas were thrown around, but we couldn't agree on anything, so I said let's start a family band. And of course, they weren't keen on the idea since they didn't know how to play a certain instrument, so I told them that it didn't matter as long as they had fun doing it. We were having a good time until Rhodey Chunk called me and said that Mick Swagger was going to be scouting for talent at the fair. I really wanted to make a good impression, but knew my family wasn't talented. Long story short, I ended up forgetting about that one rule I said to them and made a huge jerk of myself. How did that turn out? Well, after meeting someone who ended up being a Mick Swagger in disguise, I apologized for putting the bad vibes out and took the stage in Rocket. Best family fun fair I could ever remember. Sounds good, Miranda smiled. Now my next question, to stem some of the things I've learned from your siblings. Has your musical talent annoyed any of your siblings at all? Luna smiled sheepishly. Sometimes I just get a bit too into my jam sessions to notice what I'm doing. So I just get pumped out from my riff of my axe down to just a few times I broke the neck of it. I almost stage divided Lily once. The guilt was evident at the part of that sentence. Wait, you almost landed on the baby? Miranda asked, quite as shocked at their words. Yeah, thankfully she was moved out of the way, and I landed on my drum set. Aside from that, they only seemed to get annoyed when I turned up to 11 and talk in a British accent. So the accent you're speaking now, isn't that your real voice? Luna nodded. Oi, I adores Mick a lot, then I started talking like the good old Brit soon enough. I practically forgot my real voice sounded like until recently, that is. I see, Miranda replied. I was going to ask this a little later, but since we're on the subject, do you have a part on play on how things occurred last weekend? More than I would have liked, the rocker spoke, this time with her naive American accent. Me and Luann were put in charge of making sure Lori and Lenny didn't run into each other while they were still beefing, so we ended up forcing Lincoln out of his room to hide one of them as to avoid them jabbing at each other. Then at night, Lincoln was upset that his bedsheets were being used as a divider for Lori and Lenny's room, and since my two elder sisters refused to bunk with each other, Lincoln had me and Lenny switch places. During the night, Lori ranted about me of how she got the dress first. Usually I'm not the one that cares about small talk, but seriously, it's just a dress, bro. The more she raved, the more I started to believe her. Lenny must have been telling Luann the same thing, because the next morning I was fighting with my roommate on who had the dress first. Whose roommate exactly? Luann. Oh, okay. What else happened next? While me and Lulu were getting heated up, Lincoln stepped in to try to calm us down, but we were so angry and had the twins not separated us, we would have pummeled him on the spot. A sad look upon from Luna's face. Too bad no one could protect him from the thrash later on. I've asked this quite a few times with your older sisters in terms of your relationship with your girls have each other. However, I think I have already pictured given what's given so far. So in this instance, I'll narrow it down. What kind of relationship do you have with Lincoln? Do you feel he's very close to you? Is Lincoln close to me? He is, sure, but after everything's happened, I doubt it now. Normally, after the two of us get along just fine, I just ask him to help me with a few things he had asked me and stuff. We both listened to various bands. Hell, I even went out with him for our first smooch concert. The other girls didn't like me doing that, so on accident, ruined their experiences, but wanted to prove them wrong, so I showed them that I can make someone's first concert one to remember. It was also helped me that it was rock band and not some boring opera or boy band. Luna stated the last part in disgust. Lincoln actually got in trouble shortly after he told me to leave because a small cop tricked him into illegally buying tickets just so he could put him on the cell. I kind of wish I could have smashed my axe on this guy's head. Luckily, I picked up the phone before anyone else did and got him out of there. Even though I was caught up pretending to be Mom, I still owe Bobby for backing us up then. But I sure proved my sisters wrong about me always ruining concert outings. The doctor took note of this. Anything else you want to add? Loads. Luna flopped back on her chair. When Lincoln was born, I was pretty excited that we finally got a brother. I love my sisters, but it was so cool that we got a boy in our family. Now, aside from Mom, I was a second sister to him. Believe it or not, Lynn was the first and she loved it. And sometimes I felt like a mom since I had to sing him to sleep if he was being fussy. But I always played with him when the others were too busy. Occasionally feed him. Me and Lenny would argue over who gets to hold him. When we go somewhere, he's drifted off close to me on those days, even if we weren't close as we used to be. I do the same thing with Lily even though I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be anywhere near me after what happened. Aside from the recent events, has your relationship with your brothers had pitfalls? Like, he's done anything to make you upset or vice versa? Luna regretfully nodded. There has been times where I've been acting jerkish to him. There was even this one instance where he mapped out the seat the van called the sweet spot, and like my sisters, I got jealous and wanted to have it for myself. No offense to Vanzilla, but you get tired of resting your bums on soggy, sticky seats next to broken windows all the time. Another time there was when we all went shopping and he made a deal with Mom to get the groceries in order to get some zombie brand. All of us wanted treats too, and I took his cereal from him and the whole gang started fighting on who should get a treat. Which one of us got banned from the store, but we made up to Lincoln since it was our fault, and he didn't get his prize, but it was like still a low note. On the good side, bro can be selfish or clumsy at times, but he has a bad habit of clogging the only toilet in the house with stuff that shouldn't go in the tube, like a sweater. Last time he clogged it was a Princess Pony book. Though, to be honest, I'm not sure if that was even Lincoln's. He's even more into Savvy and boy stuff, not girly things. I'm getting this vibe that it was Lola's, even though she said she doesn't read that junk. That, or Lucy maybe? I don't know, bruh. Luna then described the 2 times she ended up blasting Lincoln into the wall with her extremely loud speakers. The first time was on accident, which left a crack on the wall, but the musician had expressed a sincere regret over time it happened. It happened during all the time when all the kids were following clues left at the house that pointed towards a hidden cash prize. Luna distinctively remembered Lincoln peering into their room, only for her to blast a blank right into the opposing hallway. The 15-year-old then drew tears upon due to the fact that she might have seriously injured her brothers, and she wouldn't have cared at the time. As long as she found the money, thankfully, she only suffered temporarily hearing loss, he had. Miranda was starting to notice a pattern at this point. Whenever Luna acted like a jerk, her sister seemed to be acting the same way, almost as if they had some kind of mob mentally. She wrote down her notes to bring it up later. But if I were to say one time, I was super mad at Lincoln when he filmed an embarrassing moment of me and my sisters for that video contest. People kept laughing at the fact that I wore polka-dotted underwear for a couple days, until Lincoln corrected his mistake by uploading a ton of embarrassing moments of himself. When I look back on it, I realized I couldn't be too mad at him for what he did. How so? After looking at the trophy case in our house, I realized the reason why Lincoln wanted to win that video contest so badly. He felt like he was living in someone else's shadow, much like how I felt before I discovered music. What I'm saying is, he felt just like I did when I was around his age. He just wanted to stand out apart from us. He must have felt like he couldn't accomplish anything from seeing how all the trophies we had. I know he did try out a few things, but he just couldn't seem to win the crowd. I know the feeling of having a trophy you could fawn over, as I have found myself. I finally got why he published our embarrassing moments. He was very desperate to win something. Anything to show that he could be a winner like us. And it didn't help his younger sisters even had a few wins on their end. I wasn't too angry with him to realize before he publicly embarrassed himself. After seeing the little trophy we gave him compared to the others, I don't think giving him that trophy labeled Most Improved Brother eases the ice. Sure, it'll be something we'll remember as a family. It won't mean anything to the real world. Interesting comparison. Have you tried to help your brother in any way? The best I could, I was trying to help him through music. As always, it helps me when I'm thinking about something, but Lincoln just isn't into music like I am. I'm not sure what he likes besides comics. I do want to help him find his calling so he doesn't feel like he's dragging the band down. Though he's afraid of me, I don't know how I can help him. He probably feels like everything is his fault even. Well, even then, I think it's wonderful that you're helping your little brother to try to realize what he's good at. Your father had similar thoughts as he wished that Lincoln was more like you and your sisters. But like I told him, Lincoln will find his own calling in due time. He just needs acceptance and patience. Right. Now another thing I want to bring up is into your interactions with your brother during these times. When you asked about the times you've acted selfish towards him, you also did say your sisters acted the same way? Whatever is based on coincidence due to having similar ideas, I'm not certain that it doesn't seem like you're acting out on your own in these situations. The only time you have is when you admitted to being selfish. When it came to the incident involving the family fair, it does seem that you girls act one without realizing it, although it appears then often dissolves into infighting. Partially when your brother comes up with the idea. First two examples you've given me. Luna wasn't too sure on how to make up of this information. So you're saying when us girls act selfish, we tend to think too much of ourselves to be inconsiderate of our brother? It could also be a stem of jealousy in the fact that you thought of yourselves before it was too late. So even if you try to bend the rules to suit your needs, but it only exacerbates the problem to unnecessary conflict. That does make a lot of sense. Lincoln did say he spent 8 hours scouting for that, last seat in the van. We ended up tearing the car apart in the process, and he made a deal with Mom to get the groceries. We promised him to help him shop, but all we did was goof around. Luna rubbed her head as she recalled a moment that she used the store's PA system to play a guitar riff. I'm thinking probably leans more into jealousy than anything else. I think I've been roped into the idea of wanting something for myself when I didn't plan on advance more than I would have liked to count. At least Lincoln always tends to plan ahead. Suddenly it dawned on the musician as to why Lincoln always makes up these plans incredibly long names. He seems to be well aware of his sisters will act in a way in a group as if anything. The girls have proved time and time again as to why they would have stayed a few steps ahead of him, especially if it was something he didn't want them to ruin. They would want this same thing, or even tried their opinions on him. Perhaps Dr. Lopez's theory of the mob mentality isn't too far-fetched, and even Luna didn't like it one bit. One such instance as the whole Sadie Hawkins dance fiasco. 4 of his sisters set up dates for him and haven't bothered asking him whether or not he actually wanted to go in the dance. They ended up forcing him to go for the sake of their friends, who now wanted nothing to do with them after finding out what they landed on their brother in their hospital. While Luna was happy that Lincoln actually managed to hook up with his friends, she quickly became aware of how badly it could have turned out if Tabby, Polly, Haku, and Giggles thought Lincoln was cheating on each of them. Shaking her head, Luna stood up. Thanks for the time, Doc. I would like to leave now. Are you sure? Yeah. Well, Luna, remember the door is always open, Miranda said, a little unsure as to why Luna suddenly wanted to leave. The doctor didn't want her to stop as she felt got enough information from the 15-year-old. Plus, she needed to go out for lunch. The musician walked out calmly out the door, conflicting her thoughts and feelings. Uncertainty had plagued her mind, but Luna was certain about one thing. She needed to call a sibling meeting as soon as possible.